So this panel is focusing on sustainable innovation, and I think we have a really dynamic group of panelists that display a whole, complete picture of the entire value chain of a product, where we're not just looking at raw material or a brand, but we're also looking at fiber, chemical, and also service providers that and educators that help facilitate adopting sustainability for 20, 30 years, which is quite impressive. To start, I would like to ask Dr. Hundekar to begin things. Unfortunately, Dr. Tyagi had to leave. He had to catch a plane, so he is not here. We are grateful, though, that he did want to participate and discuss, but instead we'll have Dr. Hundekar. She was very gracious to take on his part as well in discussing how in India, sustainability, the challenges that have been faced, and how it has been adopted and a part of culture for quite some time, and what she's doing to help the fashion and textile industry.
Thank you, Stefan. I think in India, all of us, we know that we have lived with sustainability. Right from our childhood, everyone knows. You will not believe elder brother's clothes will be worn by younger brother. I think where I come from is the place Maharshi Karve Stri Shikshan Sanstha, 127 years old legacy, started for widows' empowerment, and now we have 74 organizations, 35,000 students, where we thought of starting fashion education in 1998. There was a strong demand that it should have a connect with social sustainability, social well-being. And there I do remember my organization sent me to the interiors of Kutch, and they said, go and find out what is the situation. We went to each and every interior part of India, and till the date, we are so well connected. I think that made our work very different and towards sustainable. What we have, our own USP, or maybe asset we can say, is we have identified our own traditional intellectual heritage, the potential of it, and we have connected it with the innovations. And I think in the year 2011, we could give a formal structure, or we could evolve a formal structure called Green Fashion India, and where we have almost 8 to 10 organizations, international organizations as well, institutions, where the connect is now more than 5,000 are associated. Every time we come, we exchange the ideas, we share the good practices, we give the challenges to the students, to the fashion fraternity. And this is what instigate or sensitize the generation, the upcoming generation and the present generation to go or to get motivated to practice green fashion.
Thank you. When it comes to, you did speak on collaboration, that trip was so fundamental. Can you talk a little more about how impactful collaboration is and how important you see it being for adopting sustainability and for sustainable innovations?
Yes, I'll tell you, we have got collaboration with artisans. We have got collaboration with industry also. So when we thought of connecting artisans with industry, the major problem was the commercial aspect of art or craft. For example, when we talk about Indian prints or natural dyes, they lack in their color fastness. There is a big problem, but I think with the innovations and the research process which we incorporated, we could develop the product having international acceptance. And I think it was a very good example where the craft got connected with industry. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, for Gitika, Yeah, I know for you, you've been taking sustainability quite seriously in your work for 25 years. Would you like to talk about how that process began and how it has continued?
Sure. So I just want to begin by saying that it's really delightful to be here today, because it's really amazing to listen to large companies talk about removing discounts, about sustainability, about long-lasting fashion. The last conference I attended was in 2018 in NIFT in Delhi, International Conference. And there was nothing, it was really very little to talk about what we're talking today. My journey with sustainability began in 1998. Well, actually before that. But I started my company in 1998, and I've made 3 sustainable brands from that time onwards. The first one was in 1998. And well, my journey is this, that I'm from the second batch of NIFT. And after working for a couple of years in some places, I just had a very serious mind, and I just had a depth for a need for deeper knowledge and that kind of thing. I was just not happy with the business aspect that I learned at NIFT. I wanted to know what is design. I was just not serious-minded. And as life does, I landed up in NID to teach there. And I was there for about 3.5 years. And it was really a turning point for me, because I got what I wanted and much more. And that was the time when at NID, people had started talking about sustainability. And it was certainly not in the field of fashion, but in product design and furniture design. And we would have so many visitors coming in from abroad, and it was just really amazing. And it really hit a chord with me. And exactly like what Manju said, that even for me, it hit home, because I was also brought up like that. We were, at least my generation and before, all our mothers and grandmothers never wasted anything. And, we were just brought up with Gandhian values. That is how it was. So it echoed in me, and then I just started, doing things my way. My contemporaries all went into trousseau wear, and that was all about maximalism. Whereas I was really, in my heart, I was a minimalist. I am. And I think the thing I did was that I dared to do what was true to me and what came, naturally to me. And that has helped. So I started something 25 years ago, which everybody is talking about now, and it's so important. Have I answered your question? Right. Okay. So I made 3 brands. The first one was sold in UK and Europe. And I worked very deeply with crafts, but the innovation, that's the topic of this forum. And innovation has been very, very, very important for me, design and R&D. So the amount I invested time, money in R&D is amazing. It took me a long time to marry business and innovation together and say, okay, now I have to bring sense into this. I can't innovate so much that then I'm not making money. So I started monetizing it at a later stage. But R&D was always very, very big for me. And of course, there was zero wastage, and I upcycled as much as I could, and the rest was recycled. I've never had dead stocks. Especially the 2 brands that I made. The second brand was home furnishings, which was exported to the US. And I just never had any dead stocks there. And the third brand, which is an e-commerce brand, that's the most infant brand that I have. Again, I've just devised systems where, we just have some stocks, and then we just produce to fulfill, in the given TAT. But yeah, and there's so many, so many ways. I can't even cover it all. I think it's just at my core, it's like.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I think the experience that every company has, especially when it comes to the brand side, is there's no one size fits all. There's no one road that is going to be traveled. And I think it's my background is in economics and in economic research, and one of the things that's always a scare is that if you funnel everyone into a single lane road, you're going to cause congestion. And if there's an issue in that path and you have to divert it, and you have to build a new road, then everyone is stopping and saying, oh, well, we've made a mistake. Well, maybe this isn't the right time. And that's why it's so important that, I mean, we're going to hear a lot of different stories here and different, ways of adopting and pursuing. And I think that's why this panel is so unique, is because there is no one size fits all. That's the fashion industry right there for you. Rishi, let's go to you. The LYCRA company is very well known. I think everyone has experienced the benefit of stretch, am I right? And with LYCRA, there's an expectation of excellence when it comes to that name and with that company. As you approach, your new sustainable innovations, which I think you did the product launch just barely here, how do you approach that when there is so much expectation on quality, consistency, and performance, and when you're introducing a sustainable product that has bio-content, replacing a very key component to your product?
So before I answer this question, I think let me kind of, step back and take the audience to where we started, and then the Indian context of it. Since we are in India, let's talk about India. So LYCRA was invented in 1958 in the US by an earlier company called DuPont, and we were DuPont earlier. So it's been 65 years since LYCRA has been in existence. And if you look at the sustainability agenda, which we had was like just 3 years back, and things have sped up so fast in last 5 to 6 years that everyone in the industry across the value chain has been caught unaware, or that how do you really make ends to meet. So ultimately we have come to a conclusion that we want to do things which are right for the planet. Of course it should be right for the business also. But the challenge what we are facing, and especially in the Indian context, is do we have the buyers who wants to have sustainable ingredients in their products? Now, everyone says that we want to have sustainable, but are we ready to pay for it? That's something that's a challenge which, at least in the Indian context, I feel that that's one of the biggest questions, and we will resolve this as we move forward, this point onwards. Now, we are replacing in our bio-based LYCRA, we are replacing almost 70% of the ingredient from a traditional fossil fuel petroleum-based to corn-based. Okay, and this corn is not the edible corn; it's basically a dent corn or industrial corn. Now, to your question that how is it going to be different, and are we going to maintain the consistency, the performance of what we had originally? In 2014, we came up with this LYCRA, which was bio-based, almost like 9 years back. But I think we were too ahead of time at that time. There were not many buyers for that globally. But now as we speak, we have introduced this in the market. We are right now in the seed quantity stage. There are so many brands who wants to work with us on this because they have their own sustainability goals. So we somewhere come in the picture to fulfill their goals, and that's why they want to work with us. In terms of consistency, we have our applied research center in the US. They work, in and out to ensure that the product which we are making, the claims what we are having, are going to be exactly, what we are talking about. So they have done their research. We have developed fabrics, and as we speak, we have manufactured the seed quantity, which we'll give it to the mills and the fabric makers and garment makers for them to see that there's no difference between what they were doing earlier and what they're doing now. Wonderful. So in terms of performance and consistency, I don't think so. We are going to be we are going to differ on that.
Good. I think it's very heartening to hear that for a company that prioritizes R&D so much, that they have the assurance that all of these things, all of these other criteria that a company or brands could have, there should be no concern, and there is no concern on your end. Ganesh, I know from the other aspect of when we're talking about performance, performance chemistry, functional finishes, softeners, this is a very big area, and this is an area that has, for the last 20, 30 years, had a lot of scrutiny and had everyone's eyes focused on it. How is your experience in approaching sustainability, adopting sustainable solutions, approaching R&D? What is that experience like?
Yeah, hi. I represent a company called Resil Chemicals and N9 World Technologies. We are a specialty chemical company from Bangalore. And we are focused on all the textile chemicals in the finishing area, which is, softening to specialty finishes like antimicrobial and so on. As you know, this, chemicals are the most watched ones in the sustainability, when it comes to sustainability, as it is one of the main inputs into apparel and textiles. And both the regulators and registration bodies, both of them really have so many standards. And regulations, in the Europe you have REACH, and the US you have EPA and TASCA and so on. And at the same time, textiles, there are a lot of registration bodies. You have Blue Sign, Eco Passport, Hague Index, EAM scores, GOTS, and another list of them, really about 10, 15 of them. We are one of the companies which is registered in almost all the registration requirements, because you have brands, both global and Indian brands, they require different, they are aligned with different registration requirements. So each one of them asks for different type of certification. So therefore, we are registered in most of them. The challenge is about meeting all the requirements, including ZDHC, which is a mother body now, trying to sort of harmonize most of the requirements today. But this is a big challenge with respect to registering so many, the chemical products. We are almost 500 products now. Some of the standards are really very high, like Blue Sign. You have to really comply with, both the factory, the product manufacturing processes, as well as the product quality and specifications. So the manufacturing setup, you require really world-class setup, which will tick all the boxes with respect to environment and product stewardship and so on. So we had to really make nearly around 800 to 900 improvements in the facility to reach where we are today. And that is a big challenge. But also the challenge is coming with respect to chemistries. Now most of the chemistries are synthetic chemistries and fossil fuel based chemistries. Especially polymers like silicone polymers, they are quite synthetic. So now the requirements are coming, how do you make it more biodegradable by introducing it, some bio components into it, so that you get a better biocompatibility and also bio-based materials. The other aspect is about what are the various byproducts and the unreacted components in most of the chemistries, which is present in ppm levels, which we need to monitor to really comply with various global regulations. And every day what was good yesterday is no longer good, because the REACH and the US regulators, they keep changing, they are coming up with new studies and saying what was very good yesterday is good today, probably bad tomorrow. So this is a sort of a challenge more the chemical industry is facing to really, obsolete their own products, come up with new technologies. So the innovation plays a very vital role, collaborate with various universities and try to get what we want. But the domestic industry is quite, in the early stages to look into, sustainable products. So whereas the export and other export goods, apparels and fabrics, they require the highest standards. But you can't maintain two standards in the factory. So you need to really make sure that everything is produced with the same quality. So the cost of such sustainability implementation is very high, so which is not paid by the domestic industry. But definitely, yes, at least exports, you always recover it with the higher sales revenue. So you will get more business if you really do better on the score of sustainability. So we are able to really generate more revenues, thereby we are able to get the cost recovered through this process of better sales. The challenge is, again, also it's testing costs are really high. So we have to spend a lot of money in evaluating products in various global labs. So that cost again adds to, basically erodes. Almost it's about 1% of your entire revenue. So the cost of testing and certification is very high in today. So somehow if the brands and the consumers start paying for it, it makes the job even more easier. So that's the challenges with respect to sustainability.
It's a very interesting situation that the chemical industry faces, and I do agree that as brands take sustainability seriously and adopt these solutions, it does make it easier. It does improve that the belief that the innovation, the investment into testing, it does pay back, and it does motivate you to continue to innovate and improve the sustainability of the product. And I think that's a great segue for Dr. Sunder, as you work at Natur-Tec and you develop a biopolymer, if I'm correct, and it's used in packaging. And when we're looking at that final product and the whole picture, we talk about e-commerce, we talk about shipping. We're not mentioning what materials are we using to ship the good and put the good in. And can you talk a little bit about that and making certain how you approach it, the claims that you make, preventing greenwashing, and making certain that that end consumer and that the brand use the right wording so people understand this is how I'm supposed to, not throw away, but, compost the bag.
Sure. So thanks, Stefan, first of all, and thanks to IFF and for this opportunity. So a little bit about Natur-Tec. First of all, my name is Sunder and I represent a company called Natur-Tec. We are a global company and we essentially focus on material science. So we develop bio-based and certified compostable packaging and products for different industry segments. Our experience with the apparel industry started way back in 2011 when we started working with a global brand to understand what can we do in the area of sustainability for them. So I would say the first thing was to really understand what the brand wanted. Because what we've understood is sustainability means very different for every brand. And sometimes it's not about what you want to sell, but it's about what you want to understand from the customer and then make sure that your product is meeting that requirement. And when we see a common thread, what we see here is that today, circularity is a word which is spoken a lot. And if you look at how the economy has been run, it's been a very linear economy. So when I say linear, it's make, use, and dispose. And today, brands are looking at how do we create circularity around this whole economy. So circularity can be created in different ways. You can create circularity by just reusing. You can create circularity by recycling. And you can re-innovate, like what Ganesh, Suri spoke about, using bio-based, or probably look at biodegradability as an end of life. So our materials really focus on two key concepts. One is using bio-based feedstocks, which means you are talking of making a product which is not dependent on fossil-based feedstocks or reduces the dependency on fossil-based feedstocks, whereby you can showcase a certain value proposition to a brand in terms of a reduced carbon footprint, which can then be translated to numbers which is very understood by common men, like, fuel saved, electricity saved, how much of energy that you save. So that's one. The second is the end of life. So what we mean is that most of the packaging today, like today when you go to buy a garment, you see so many accessories. You see right from a poly bag to a clip, to a collar support, a tag, which is probably just used and then disposed. So the life cycle of this product is not going to be more than a year or two from the time it's produced till the time it gets disposed. So can we build certain chemistries into these products which allow for these products to be removed from the environmental compartment in a clean way without causing damage? So that's the second value proposition in terms of the end of life. Now, coming to cost, and I know Ganesh spoke a little bit about cost. I mean, we've had the same experience that while brands want to build sustainability, there's always an economic angle to this. And when we look at a triangle of cost, performance, and sustainability, unfortunately, we can have only any two at any point of time. So if we want a sustainable product with a good performance, then at some point we'll have to compromise on the cost. Now, I would like to give a small twist to this. What we've understood is, when we have a product and we are trying to do an apples-to-apple replacement to a product, we say, okay, here is my existing product and here I'm giving you a new product which is sustainable. Can we do some kind of a re-engineering of the design, a product feature, to be able to get cost parity? So one learning for us as a team has been that don't look at what we sell on a standalone basis. Look at the solution that we offer, and can we create a value add in terms of tweaking the engineering, the design. And one example I can quickly share with you is the major brand we were working with. We just did a simple reduction in the thickness of the material to be able to meet a certain performance requirement, and we were almost on parity in cost. Sometimes it could be different cube utilizations, it could just be changing the product features a little bit. And many times these product features are engineered in a way which is very, no one wants to question why a certain product was engineered. So when you look at sustainability, what I feel is we should look at it holistically. And I don't know if I have time, but okay. Finally, all that I would like to say is that in India, when we started in 2011 was when we started, there were very few brands who were looking at bio-based plastics for packaging and accessories. And today, pretty much every major brand is already implementing it. A lot of this is because there is government support, there are policies which are in place. And there's also, what this has also led to is a lot of greenwashing. So the word biodegradable is probably the most misused, abused word today. And so there's a standards which are in place in the country today. You have testing bodies who are supposed to test these products, certify it to a certain standard. And so this is a highly regulated industry in the country, which is why it's leading to a lot more demand coming up.
Thank you. So, Harita, let's finish with you. We've seen this really good picture of the product, the process of the product, how it's being approached for sustainability and innovation. With you, let's go back to the beginning of that product and how you are approaching improving that sustainability and innovation when it comes to improving timelines with 3D design, 3D model creation.
First of all, I want to thank all the innovators here who are helping us reach the sustainability goal. It's with the effort that has been put in by the industry, whether it's usage of green chemicals, biocompostable polybags. We are the users of whatever has been discussed here. And there are two facets to sustainability. You know, Benetton has 3 pillars: colors, knit, social. And sustainability is one of the biggest pillars that we are chasing right now globally and in India. So when we are looking at sustainability, we are looking at a 3-point approach. One is create consciously, what we spoke about, using fabrics like linen, viscose, tencel, so that the whole impact on the world is a little lesser. The second is create in a manner that is long lasting. So you need to create lesser. So first and the most important thing is to give more quality to the consumer so that anything that they're purchasing for us lasts in their wardrobe longer. We spoke about the dyes, so that's where high IQ dyes come into the play, green chemicals come into the play. So a consumer has more opportunity to wear the same garment over and over again. So that's one aspect of creating lesser. The third is also building efficiency into the system. How do you reduce wastage? And that's where we are exploring a lot of 3D printing and 3D sketches. So a large part of our menswear collection, when we are shortlisting shirts or when we are shortlisting tees, there are 3D models that we actually look at, which has actually taken up our hit ratio from sampling to the finalization of orders up to 90%. So there are very little drops because you actually know what you want to create. So anybody in retail would know that usually the sampling hit rate ratio is anywhere between 65 to 70%. And for one article that you create, the vendor has to place order for meters and meters of fabric, get it dyed, get it constructed, and waste all of that because very few will actually land on the floor. So our effort is to work on this, and going forward we are also planning to explore how can we bring technology in reducing the leftovers, because as we all understand, once you've created inventory, that is also leaving an impact on the world. It's going somewhere. After the EOSS, whatever stocks are left over with, we have to deal with them. So that is how we are planning to work a little bit stronger on the planning tools, make sure that we buy more efficient, more tighter, and every store gets what it really needs. So that's how we are approaching from beginning to end.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I would like to thank all of the panelists and for the information that they've shared, their approaches to sustainability and how they develop new innovations to meet the demand of sustainability. I mean, it's definitely not a one-size-fits-all. It's very dynamic, and each component of the industry obviously has different challenges and different ways that they have to overcome them. With that, I'd like to say thank you.